We've gone from a cotton program as part of a FSA program to an insurance program. STAX is an insurance program. And as being an insurance program, it's worked in with the other programs. So let's look at what we have available in cotton. First, you're going to have just, if you want to, you just have your traditional crop insurance program. Your yield protection, revenue protection, harvest price exclusion, and then in some areas we have an area risk protection insurance. That's one option. Another alternative is the STAX program, the STAX Income Protection Plan, STAX for short. That's the second option. You can have that as a standalone program. Third option is traditional crop insurance and STAX, but we can't have overlap on any of the coverages. And then the third option is traditional crop insurance and the SCO or supplemental coverage option. Again, no overlap. What is STAX? Well, again, it's a crop insurance policy. Again, it's area-based. Some of you may have had a GRIP program in the past, group risk insurance protection. STAX is kind of something along that line. It's an area, it's the county being the area in most places. It can be, as I mentioned, it can be purchased with the individual policy, or it can stand alone. It's only for cotton producers, and because it's an insurance program and policy, it's only applicable to planted cotton acres. Okay, so we've got to throw out what we've had in the past, that the base that we used in the past. This does not apply going forward on the cotton in 2015 and forward. So we're just using planted acres. Provides revenue coverage, and STAX is not tied to the companion policy. One of the yield revenue, or a yield plan, or yield protection, or revenue protection. It's not necessarily tied to it. You can have it without it, or you can have it with it. Because the potential payout on this type of policy is got a little more risk to it. It's fairly high. It has a higher premium. Because it has a higher premium, the government is subsidizing it at 8%. So they're going to pay 80% of the subsidy of the premium, cost of the premium. Producers will pay 20%. Does have a separate premium and administrative fee from your traditional crop insurance. This is the counties, the area that's going to have the STAX protection in 2015. You see it's got most of the cotton counties in West Tennessee and a few over in the Middle Tennessee. Okay, your coverage is going to depend. Again, it depends on your expected area yield, and just to make sure we understand, expected area yield generally is going to be your expected county average or county yield. It's not necessarily the county average. When they put these type of area programs into place, they have some models they use to determine what the expected yield is. They're going to use many years of data to determine this. So it's kind of, and a lot of times that years of data kind of affects the trend line of the expected yield. Now again, if you were ever involved with a group risk plan or a GRIP plan on particular soybeans, maybe in the past, you would have experienced how that worked. Now, as far as the STAX program, it's going to start at 90% of the area revenue or lower, of course, if you select it, and it'll go down and stop at 70% of the area revenue. Or you can select an increment in there from 70 to 90. The maximum range is 20%. If there are multiple types of practices for the insured crop in the county, the policy protection will be determined separately for each type, level type of practice. I'm going to hold off on how that's going to work, because I'm not sure that that's going to work in Tennessee. I've got to wait to see that myself. I would normally say that's going to be, they're going to separate by irrigation and non-irrigation. But I've not seen, we don't have that database that I've seen anyway. MASS does not keep the records like that. The data in Tennessee as of yet, so I'm hoping as we go forward, that information will be developed and we can have it broken out by those practices like that. But I'm going to hold off and wait until the actual data comes out and see if that's what we get or not. Kind of leery that that's going to happen for this first year. Maybe as we go forward in the future, we'll have that. Your protection factor, you can choose from 80% to 120%. If you're a producer and you look at those expected county yield, and you say, my yields are a lot better than that, I do better, I'm above, I do better than what the expected county yield is, you might tend to look at the 120% protection or that factor of 1.2. If your yields are somewhere right around the expected county average, you might use somewhere around that 80 to 100% or 0.8 to 1 factor. Okay, this just kind of tries to give us an idea of how this program and where the holes might be, or maybe not a hole as such, but any of these type of programs we're talking about, STAX or SCO, you as a producer have got the first loss. And in STAX, you've got the first 10% of the loss. So that's the area that's not covered by any color. Okay, STAX will come up from 70, and if we're looking at a underlying policy that's got 75% coverage, STAX would go from that 75 to 90%. That's where it covers it'll cover. Then your individual policy is going to cover up to 75%. So if you have an individual policy, it covers up to 75% here, then you'll go 75 to 90. If you had 60% coverage, if you had an underlying policy, revenue protection policy, let's say, covered 60%, that's going to cover this first 60%. We'll have a hole in here between 60 and 70%, and then STAX will pick up from 70 to 90%, then you as a producer have got the first 10% loss. And same thing on 80%. If we had an 80% policy, underlying policy, say revenue protection, it covers up to here, and then STAX is going to cover from 80 to 90%. You got this part in here. How much is it going to cost? Well, it's kind of hard to say because it is an insurance product. It's going to be based on a lot of little moving parts, as I've already mentioned, that all work into determining the premium. But even that, I've seen some rough estimates, and I thought I'll throw these out here. Again, it's a very rough estimate. Let's say we have a STAX with a 90% area loss trigger, 20% coverage range, and as far as price variability, we're using 15%. From RMA, they're saying that premium's going to run about 40%. So it's going to average around 40%. Could be somewhere from 20 to 65% of the amount of liability that's being covered. And it's going to be based on your location and whether at some point it will vary on the practices that you have, whether it's irrigated or not irrigated. In this example, I'm using expected county yield of 850 pounds per acre. Projected price is 75 cents per pound. I'm using the high level of protection of 120% of 1.2. So that amount of coverage that I have is $153 per acre. Okay, so if we take 40% of the 153, that gives us roughly around $60, $61. We take 20% of that $61, we'll come up with about $12.24 per acre. So kind of on this scenario, we're saying around $12, a little $12 an acre would be the cost for this insurance policy. Okay. Again, very between all these little moving parts that you select.